Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Social Flight Live. I'm Jeff Simon. We have such a fun show for you this evening. Ariel Tweto is here. She's a good friend of mine. It is so much fun to have her here back on Social Flight Live. Before we get started, as always, a few notes. Tonight's broadcast will be recorded. Just go to YouTube and check us out on SocialFlight. Just do a search on one word, SocialFlight on YouTube. And of course, be sure to check out SocialFlight.com and the free SocialFlight mobile apps for Apple and Android devices, because we have tens of thousands of aviation events and destinations. Go on there, there's an event map. You can see what's happening around you so that you can actually get out there, mix it up with other pilots, and go see some really cool things. And there are fall fly-ins happening everywhere. So it's really important, of course, get out there and mix it up. And then, of course, we all have online events just like tonight, lots of education, great things that you can do. But one of the things that's my favorite thing, I think, about it is our Fly to Win challenge. We just gave away a Lightspeed Zulu 3 headset to someone. All you have to do is get the app, go out there, fly, check in, gives you points wherever you fly, and you don't even need to compete to get the most points. Just fly and go and check in, get some points during the prize period, and you are entered in to win. You get just more chances to win if you get more points. So with that, right now, this prize period, we're giving away a complete prize pack for an aircraft from Tempest Aero. Very cool, especially as we head into maintenance season. And there's so many other things that are going to be coming up. So anyway, with that, stay with us. We have some great new shows coming up as well after this. A quick heads up on that. Next Tuesday, after you're recovering from Thanksgiving, Elvis's pilot, Ron Strauss, will be here joining us. And the week after that, on December 7th, we've got George Brawley of Gammy and Tornado Alley Turos here on the show. We're going to talk about all sorts of cool things there too. So let's get now to the show and our featured guest. Ariel Tweto from Flying Wild Alaska into America's Wild, the Great North, so many other things out there. You know, for many of us in aviation, we spent hours on end learning about the challenges of life up in Unalakleet, Alaska, in the reality TV show Flying Wild Alaska. And although we all love to watch the flying, more often than not, it was the adventures of one of its youngest stars that actually stole the show. And since then, Ariel's been in everything from feature films such as Into America's Wild to lending her voice to the hit animated show The Great North alongside Nick Offerman, Jenny Slate, and Will Forte. I am thrilled to call her a friend and even more excited that she's here on Social Flight Live tonight to get us all into the Thanksgiving mood. I'm going to bring her online now and have her join us here. And welcome, Ariel. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Jeff?
Oh, I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for taking time to join us here on Social Flight Live again.
No, thank you so much for having me back. I love it.
Oh, I love watching every single thing you do and any chance that we get to chat. And now you're out in California now, is that correct?
Yep, I'm in California right now. I'm in my friend's little office, and if I start tearing up, I'm not crying. It's just I have a weird tear duct right now, and it looks like I'm gonna start crying randomly every once in a while. So
you're getting emotional because of the time. It's been a long time since we've talked, and I know that that's a big deal.
I know. It's such a big deal. No, I was in Hawaii with my parents, and I was swimming so much in the ocean, and I just can't keep my eyes closed because you want to see everything, and I messed up my eyes. So that's it.
Yikes. So first of all, what's tonight's drink of choice here?
Tonight I'm drinking whiskey and ginger beer. My friends think I'm an old man because I love whiskey and I love Werther's Originals, the candy, and they're like, "Are you a grandpa?" I'm like, so cheers.
That's pretty funny. Like, yeah, I think it doesn't fit the picture when I actually look at you, but you're right. Like, it's like go see Ariel if you want hard candies and whiskey.
Yeah. I know. It's the time of year though. Whiskey makes you warm. I'm used to being in Alaska right now, and it's like -30. I think it's -30 right now. And so I'm just like, I'm gonna act like I'm cold, but I'm actually sweating right now. But
Oh my God, that's I don't feel quite as bad with things starting to turn into fall up here than the idea of being -30 or anything like that.
Yeah, it's
So
already reaching like record negative temps right now. For some, yeah, it's like where'd climate change go? It's getting super, it's frozen, but that's a whole other story.
oh my God. So you actually, I mean, it's no secret that you wanted to actually escape the cold.
Yeah. No, I did. Well, it's funny. I escaped, and that's where like Boston. I went to college in Boston, and I got there, and I'm like, what is this? It's colder than Alaska. It's a different type. The East Coast cold is so different than the West Coast. And then in Alaska, you actually prepare and dress for it. Like you're wearing your sealskin hat and your big boots and everything. And in Boston, you're wearing North Face and other companies. Like you have to dress in furs and eat a lot of like fat when you're in Alaska, and you just don't do that when you're in Boston. So
We
then I came
just
to
suffer. Up
what's
here,
that?
we just suffer and complain about it. That's the difference.
Yeah, definitely suffering. I love Boston though. You live in a cool place. I'll come and visit.
Absolutely. We have to get you back up here, no doubt. So let's see, like, first of all, just for to kind of set the history straight on things, a lot of people don't even really know the quick background on that you were behind the show. That for the thing that really kind of kicked off, I think, in some ways kicked off your career, but you started, of course, you're a pretty serious athlete, and you started with that on Wipeout. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot of people don't know. I went to college originally when I went to Boston. It was going to be for sports broadcasting. I just love sports, love playing them, love watching all that fun stuff. But then I realized, like, I I just got so I went and auditioned for Wipeout, and the producer, I was in a basketball game and playing against one of the producers in Venice Beach, California, and he was like, "You are one weird crazy person. You should audition for the show that for crazy people." And I was like, "Yeah, sign me up." So audition, did well, ended up getting on the show and then doing well, and I got invited back I think like 3 times. And then while I was on it, I met a guy. He was like the a safety guy, and he shot like did video stuff for the Iditarod. Turned out he knew my mom. Like he met my mom on the trail, and he was like, "No way, I met your mom and your auntie. They're awesome." And so we started chatting. It was right when Deadliest Catch came out, and so I was like, "My family's all like we're all pilots. It's a crazy story. Like we're all pretty much we're characters." Whatever. I probably didn't say that. I didn't know what characters were. I didn't say that. Um, but I was like, our family's awesome, so we should do a show about them. Don't tell my dad and mom because they'll never go for it. So let's keep it between me and you and just show up with cameras. And so we actually went and shot a sizzle reel and then got it going. But my parents, I showed up with camera crew and they were like, "Why aren't you in school and why are you here? And who are these people?" And they're like, "Well, we're gonna shoot a show about you guys." And so then it just took off. Oh yeah.
So yeah, so you created the show basically. I mean, the whole thing that started you have really made your own career and future by starting it. You just kind of pointed cameras at your family. Did you tell them much about that?
I not before we got there. Because they wouldn't have done it. My dad's always like, "We're not interesting people. We're just like living our lives. Like, why would anyone want to watch us?" That was his thing in the beginning. And then he met the crew and fell in love with the crew. And then some of the guys stayed and lived with my parents for a couple of years after and like gold mined and did all this stuff. Just fell in love with it. But yeah, like I helped create it and then I got to be a producer on it. And so a lot of people just think I'm this wacky, like sort of a ding dong on the show, which I sort of am. So wacky ding dong. I don't even know where that came from. But I'm also I love creating shows. I love developing something and watching it go from like A to Z. And then I love like telling stories and yeah, and then I just love all of entertainment and like making people laugh and I just love it. So
It's I think I find it fascinating that there are so many people who have been amazing people on character with their characters on screen, but they are absolutely brilliant artists and business people in the background that you really don't see that. And as you mentioned, you're a producer, you're a writer, you've created a lot of things, and so yeah, you're a ray of sunshine and bubbly in so many ways, but you're a pretty serious business woman as well.
Yeah, no, I love business. I like that. I get that from my dad. Like it's cool seeing something grow and it's become like projects become your baby. I just got really into investing and that's something now I'm getting really passionate about. But no, I love business and I like feeling strong and like I'm a boss lady. And so yeah, we'll see what happens next. But no, it's fun feeling like you're in charge of your career and that you could be your own boss and
Mhm.
to hire people and to give other people opportunities is something that's super important to me too. So now just like I'm 33 now, getting up there. So like to be so to be able
Don't
to like
don't say a phrase like I'm 33, I'm
I've
getting
seen
up
so many
there
great
to a
years.
bunch of people in aviation, especially myself.
No, it is weird though. I was just with my sister the other day and we have the same birthday but 2 years apart. And both of us were like, how old are we turning? But I love it. I like getting older because you accumulate all these stories and this knowledge and wisdom from people around you, and then you're so much more comfortable in your skin, and you are more confident, and you're like I like aging.
That's I like that too. That's a great outlook to say the least. Now, tell me during the show and then following that, even though you grew up in an aviation family, you weren't a pilot,
Mhm.
and you you then decided to take that on. So tell me a little bit about that process and how that may have shaped a little bit about who you were and what you learned about yourself.
I missed that first part of the question. Is that about my flying career? Like,
Yes, yes, becoming a pilot.
yeah. So, well, I always knew I was going to become a pilot. Like, you're in our family, my grandpa, my mom's dad was one of the first Native American pilots to start his own airline, and that was Ryanair. And then all my uncles and aunties on my mom's side, except one, and there's like 9 of them, are pilots, my mom included. My mom was a pilot before my dad, like, but no
Wow.
one knows all that. And then my dad, and then his brothers started Ryanair, or they started Raven era, all that stuff. So like now, like it wasn't a matter of like when or like if I was gonna get it. It's like when are you gonna get it? And so started flying. Like we were pretty much born in a plane. Like from our house was the airport, so we grew up loading bags, cargo, knowing about weight and balance, like thawing out my dad's playing with our hair dryers because it was so cold and he was so cheap that he couldn't get an actual heater. So before school, we'd have to go and like thaw out his engine and all this stuff. But no, I've always loved flying and I love being in the air. And it, like your first solo flight, it's like nothing like it to have that control in your hands and just like, oh man, dad's not here to bail me out. Like yeah, it was just like a fun way to grow up. And so now it's just I need to get current and I need to start flying more because I love it. And
Hmm.
then that would be fun to like get your float ratings and ski ratings. And my little sister now flies helicopters, and my dad started flying helicopters. And so it's just fun. It's fun. It's a hobby. For
Yep.
me, it's never gonna be a career. And I love it so much. But then my focus is about like entertainment and
Hmm.
cartoons and being the next Eskimo Oprah. And and flying on the side, I was like Harrison Ford and Angelina Jolie, like they fly, John Travolta. But it would be so fun to be able to own a plane one day and just tell my buddies like, hey, everyone pack a backpack, maybe not even a backpack, maybe a fanny pack. We're gonna load the belly with like beer and toys. We're gonna fly to the Bahamas, have a great time. It's on me. Like that would be a dream to be able to
Sign
do
me up. That's awesome. I love that.
that. Yeah,
Did you
those.
find when you made that transition, when a lot of it, we watched you obviously with some of your flight training, and did you find the process for yourself of going through flight training uh, like impacted you in some way that's affecting your creative career and your business career afterwards? Was there parts of yourself maybe that you learned about?
Well, I learned that I'm not good at studying. It's so hard for me to sit like ground school was the hardest for me and trying to memorize all like like class C airspace and all that. Like I grew up flying where you get on the radio and just be like, hey, I'm taking off, watch out. and like clear the air, and I would stay away from Uniclete for a while. No, it was so simple. You didn't have like all the technical stuff. So when I came to LA and started flying out of Santa Monica, I could fly an airplane all day, but get me on a radio. One, I want to start chatting with everyone, and it's like, hey, how's your guys' day? What did you guys eat for lunch? And they're just like, oh, don't talk about that. We're like, there's just so much to think about. And so I realized like that's not my strength, is like the like ground school and all that, just the formal stuff. But it made me a lot more confident, and it made me believe in myself that it's like, hey, like you did this, you got your license, and then like the process, like you look back at the process, and when you're doing your ground school, when you're doing your like your first solo flight, first check, like you're doing your cross country, when you're like sitting there like shaking your pants off, and there's your instructor right there, and you could see him like grading you, or it's hard, but then you look back at it and you're like, I just did it. Like I just accomplished this. And so now you take that into your career, and when I'm like auditioning, or if you're like trying to sell a show, or if you're trying to write a script or something, you're like pulling your hair out, but then you're like, okay, I was pulling my hair out when I was doing my flight instructions, and I did it. And so you're like, okay, it's gonna suck for a while, you're gonna struggle, you're gonna start freaking out, but you're gonna get through it. And so you just like remember the process and remember how hard it was, but just be like, I could do hard things. Like I could get work done. I could accomplish this. And so you just put that into your life, and you could do anything.
Isn't that a great message? I think for anyone, of what aviation can translate into for them when they go through that process.
Yeah.
The other thing.
Oh, sorry.
No, go.
And it also, when you get your pilot's license, it opens up so many doors. It honestly, like for my TV career, it opened up so many doors just because I had my pilot's license. Like I got to do like a show on Travel Channel, and then that's why I got the IMAX film, was that I could fly. I got paired up with an astronaut. If I didn't have my pilot's license, wouldn't have happened. And then it's good like to know for your younger audience, it's not, you don't have to just fly for these big corporate aviations. Like you could do crop dusting. There's ferry pilots. My cousins, a bunch of them now fly for these international cargo companies. And I talk to them every other day, and I'm like, where are you? They're like, we're in Korea. I'm like, what? And then they're in Germany. And I'm like, how fun for a young person that has no kids or commitments to just travel the world for free and go meet awesome people. And so I think there's just so many job opportunities once you get your license, and once you start, just keep going up the ladder. So keep
Absolutely.
at it, kids.
That's a great message. Now, you also mentioned, of course, that you have so many relatives that are all involved in aviation, and most of the ones that you actually listed off there are women. And I view you as one of the strongest, most independent women that I know. And do you find that that's something that's like a hallmark of Alaska, and where you grew up, that kind of brings you through to the rest of the world and where you travel?
Yeah, well, one, thank you so much for saying that. That's super flattering. That's the best compliment I've gotten in a long time. But thank you. But I think, no, it is. The women in my life in Alaska are the strongest women I know. Like my grandma, 92, like just until a couple of years ago was still chopping wood every day, lived by herself, like raised these amazing kids. My grandpa died when my mom was like a sophomore in high school. So she raised like everybody to be, we have a doctor in our family, pilots, like just successful, driven people. And then my mom, like if you watch the show, my mom almost, like she would have been on the show a ton more, but she has a mouth that's worse like than a fisherman. Like she would have been on it like the whole time, but they had to beep her out the whole time. It's like beep 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 beep. We're like, Mom, tone it down a little bit, and like, but no, they had to edit her out like half the time. It's just her mouth is so dirty. And so like, but oh my God, I just love my mom so much. She just has your back all the time, is so, she's the most loyal person. Like if someone crossed me or my sisters, my mom would like be like on the streets in a second. or she's just so, like, she keeps my dad in line. She keeps everybody in line. She takes care of people. She seems like a hard, like, just, can you swear? I was gonna say a hard ass, but she seems like that. But she's also the most considerate and soft and gentle person, but is like ready to fight when you need it. And then she's so strong. Like, she's chopping wood. She's hauling water buckets. Like, just defrosting. She's just awesome. And so, yes, like, the woman, my sisters, like, I have two sisters. One, my older sister was in the show a ton, and my little sister wasn't. She was just like in college and also thought TV stuff was not great. And so she wasn't in it, but she's flying helicopters now on the Aleutian Islands. My older sister's at a farm in Washington and doing like some cool stuff. And so, I don't know, I'm super grateful and lucky to have like strong females in my life, and they definitely shaped who I am. And yeah.
Wow. And I mean, the other characteristic, of course, is you seem to be at home wherever you go. Every time I talk to you or see where you're going, you are all over the planet, literally. And you know, a lot of people are uncomfortable. They're very comfortable with maybe a vacation somewhere, but they don't feel grounded unless they're attached to right where they maybe came from, or where they have some home base. You seem to have backpack, will travel, and that's like, is that accurate? Is that really kind of how you are, and where did that come from?
That's so accurate. I don't feel like I'm home where my friends and my family are, or like, but I meet friends all over the world, so I immediately feel at home wherever I'm at. I don't know. I love traveling more than anything, and I love learning. I'm curious about so many things. I'm in like cultures around the world, and so I start tweaking after about a week if I'm in a place for longer than that. I'm just like, I need to get on the road. I just love it. And so, I don't know where I got that gene from, because my parents are so content at just being in Uniclete or being at our cabin. And I invite them on all these, like, to Africa and all these awesome trips, and they're like, no, we're good. I'm like, how are you doing? How, like, I'm saying I'm gonna like pay for your flight to Africa and you could come on this awesome trip, and they're like, no, we're fine. And that drives me crazy, because I'm just like, because I know once they got out of there, they would just be like, holy cow, there's so much stuff out here. But I actually had a good conversation with my dad a couple of days ago. He's like, Ariel, not everybody thinks the way you do. Like, not everybody's happiness is the same as yours. Like, me and mom are so happy just being together alone at the cabin. Like, you're just different. And I'm like, I know I'm different. And then I'm just like, why am I so different than everybody? Because they think they want me to stay at home a lot more than I'm there, but they're so supportive. They're just like, no, go spread your wings, go do what you do. I just start freaking out after a couple of days when I'm in like my bed for longer than a week. I'm just like, okay, let's go.
Once you start calling it your bed, right?
Yeah. I don't even own a bed right now. My friend
That's what I figured.
moved to Laguna Beach, and I've been in my new place. It's a shoebox. I have no internet. I've never owned a TV. I like making it. I just don't like watching it because I can't sit still. But I'm sleeping in like a sleeping mat or like a sleeping bag on my floor. Not doing a lot for my love life, but it's comfortable. No, here's an interesting one for you. Yesterday I was talking to a person, or I got interviewed, and they asked, like, if my house was burning down, what would be my one possession that I would take? I couldn't think of one. I don't own anything. And so I'm like, is that good or bad? Because like, I'm like, I don't have a piece of jewelry from my mom because I don't wear anything. Or it's like, I don't have my dad's anything from him. I have clothes, but I don't care about any of them. I wear the same clothes every day pretty much. It's not important to me how I look or what I'm wearing. I'd rather go do something like creative or get dirty and whatever. And I'm like, I honestly don't have an answer for that question.
I think that's a great way, baby. What a wonderful way to not have to have an answer for that, because that just means it's all inside you. There's nothing anyone could take from you. There's nothing that you could lose and leave behind and worry about. It's just the Ariel that's never met a stranger.
Well, thank you. Well, I don't know. I think, yeah, or you could look at the other way. It's like, do you care about something enough? Like, I feel like I care about a lot of things, but I'm like, man, what if I'm missing out on something? I don't know. Just a
I
thought.
think you're doing okay. I'm not too, for the time that we've spent together. I'm not too worried about whether or not you've got a keepsake that you would grab on the way out the door. I just know you'd make sure everybody got out with you.
Well, thank you. Oh, you're so nice. Thank you. I bring this
So,
cup.
oh, exactly. Unless the cup has something in it, that I will say, you'd grab the cup. There's no question about it.
The whiskey will make the fire bigger. So have you taken
Exactly. So tell me more about what's going on in your career lately. I mean, you obviously I know you haven't like flown within maybe the last year or so, but you're going to be picking that back up, and we're talking about doing some flying adventures together. So we'll try to get that done. Um,
No, not try. We are going to
we
get it.
are, we
Yes.
are. That's right. Anyone
Yes.
going to Sun and Fun, we might see you.
Yes. Everybody, if you're watching, go to Sun and Fun. No, let's get our. I want to get my sea legs. Get those little puppies going.
Yep,
We
we're
should.
working on that. We're going to do a little something with Whip Air, and all of us are going to do some flying. We're going to be hopefully at Sun and Fun together. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we need to do that and just go and interview some other cool pilots and just goof off together. Watch out, Kelly and Ryan. It's going to be the Jeff and Ariel show.
Exactly.
No, so I'm doing that, and then so that we have a cartoon. The IMAX movie just came out. I'm developing a new show. We're almost at the stage where I can talk about it, but it's sort of a show. So I had this thing in my head where I'm like, I just sometimes don't feel like I'm from Alaska. I'm like, I feel like I'm from somewhere warm or somewhere. So I'm like, okay, ding ding, ideas going off. Let's go to the first human footprints found in Africa 3.6 million years ago in Olduvai. So it starts at the first human footprints, and then we end up in my village in Unalakleet, and it shows sort of how we've evolved as human beings, how we failed, how we've adapted, how we become bipedal, how like the failures of Neanderthals. And so it's sort of a look at humanity and how we've evolved. And right now in this world, I feel like humans are almost devolving like into animals. We're losing our beautiful like kindness, our empathy, our ability to be in these social places together. And I'm like, we can't lose that. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us special. And so just like learning about how, like why humans are the way we are and how we could evolve into like kinder human beings and more like adaptable and just, I don't know, like, I don't know. But so that's that's where the idea sparked. And right now we're developing that. And so that's my baby project. And then I'm developing another cartoon, and that one I could start talking about soon. A lot of stuff that darn Hollywood, you just can't. It's like I feel like half the people are like trying to duct tape my mouth because it's so big, and they're just like, oh, don't talk about anything. You talk about too much. But we have some really fun stuff. I'm writing a book with a psychologist. I work a lot with in like the mental health field. I'm like passionate about suicide prevention and helping Indigenous people. And so we're writing a book about just how nature is so helpful. Like for me, like being outside every day is so important, and I have to be in the ocean or in the mountains or rolling around in dirt every day. Otherwise, I just don't feel happy or like calm. And so it's about that and how nature is so important.
Wow. And I know you were working on popping bubbles, having to do with that. How's that going?
So I mean, that's hard to measure. So I started a nonprofit called Popping Bubbles. And for me, in order to prevent suicide, you have to show people that life is worth living. You have to like get them so stoked and pumped on being alive that you would just never consider ending your life early, because life on this planet is so short. So you might as well like make the most of it. But I mean, I know suicide is so much more than that. But for me, when I work with kids, I feel like the more opportunities you give them, the more experiences that you could show them, the more that they'll want to live. And so with
Hmm.
Popping Bubbles, it's about exposing them to new experiences, giving them more opportunities, bringing motivational speakers in, starting after school programs, giving them scholarships to go to art camps and stuff. And so
Right.
doing that, and it's going well, but it's again, like I don't know how to measure
Yeah.
success with.
Well, I mean, you'd mentioned, I mean, suicide's a pretty big issue, especially in Alaska, and there's a lot of isolation, and I think that that's pretty important what you're doing to have an impact on that.
Thank you. It is important, and then it's so important for people, not even just in villages, like people in cities are lonely and they feel like they're isolated. And so especially now with technology, and you see everyone else has this perfect life, but then it's like no one does. And life is a
Right.
roller coaster. You're gonna have these like low points, and then you're gonna have these awesome high points, and then you're
Mm,
gonna want to throw your hands up and scream, and then you're going to want to cry, and then you're going to laugh, and like you just be aware when you're in those low points and know that it's going to get better. And then be aware when you're on those high points of like life, and just like, man, enjoy that moment, enjoy the process of climbing that mountain, but then realize something bad is going to happen, or stupid or sad, and realize you have the strength to overcome it. And so
yeah.
just be, it's always up and down and up and down and up and down. And so just always to be aware of just like when you are in those low points or when you're in those high points, just be like, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah,
And
I think that's a great message, and of course, with so much social media, people don't take the time to go on there and boast about having a bad day, right? Everything you see on all the different social media things is always everybody's showing something great, and you just think like, well, that's everybody else's life, and
yeah,
that's not ours, and that's obviously not the case.
yeah, it's definitely not the case. I'm aware of that too. I'm just like, for me, like I'm trying really hard when I shoot videos and stuff, one take. Like I don't care if I flub up or mess up, or I mumble a lot, and I also stutter every once in a while. And so I'm just like, nope, not editing it. Like let's just show the real you. Don't put any crazy filters. Don't make my like saggy eyes or whatever is going on that day. I'm just like, I want to show the real stuff, and like life isn't always roses and rainbows or whatever the saying is. It's like sometimes it's hard. And so
Right.
it's like trying to be a better role model for younger kids, and just to be honest, or yeah.
Right. Now, the two things that are available now, since I know there's all these things you can't talk about, some of which I wish you could,
Mhm.
is people can see Into America's Wild, and then also we've got the show on. Tell me what it was like to do Into America's Wild with John Harrington. We've had him on the show, obviously, and you got to fly in multiple ways, like crazy stuff. Tell me about that experience, and so people can still go see that.
It it was a dream. It was so fun. I mean, it changed my life. That's why I moved to Laguna. Like the director and his wife live there, and then I met the most amazing friends and like family number two. And but I mean, I got to travel across America and do adventures. It opened my eyes to mountain biking and all these other fun ways to like get that adrenaline rush that you're constantly looking for. And so, I mean, we were on the road straight. Sorry, my people are walking in. But I was on the road for 2 months straight, and you wake up with, so your crew becomes your family. So I mean, you get to wake up and eat breakfast with them. You wake up at 3 in the morning sometimes to go see the sunrises, and you're struggling all day and eating like not the best food, and then you're tired and there's a little wrinkly. But it was so fun, and I got to see parts of America that a lot of people don't get to see, or you don't realize that's there. Like I went all over. I'm gonna shut this really down. Sorry. I no, I got to see Crater Lake, Oregon, Hood River, all over like upstate New York, random places in Texas, all of like the Grand Canyon, like the coolest places that a little village girl in Alaska. I didn't grow up learning about the most amazing places in America, and so that was so fun. And then, like I said, this is for me my favorite thing about working on like a TV show or a movie is your crew. You become part of a team. So they become your family, and they become friends for forever. And so I just love that aspect of it. And I got to fly all along the Oregon coast. And then John Harrington became like, he became like a uncle, but then he became like a brother, and at times he was like a dad, and now he's like such a good friend. And so that guy, like in my head, I thought an astronaut was like very buttoned up and like very proper and all this stuff. And then John, you see him dancing around and cracking jokes and get him in a bar with some cute ladies. And hello, my name's John and I'm an astronaut. And then the lady, and that was like the best thing to watch. And so that was really cool. But he's amazing. He just talk about intelligence and you're just like, wow, you need a lot of brain cells to become an astronaut, and he's got a lot of them. So that was cool.
He is absolutely remarkable. I love John. He's absolutely remarkable, and lives in a beautiful part of the country. And so, I mean, anyone who has a chance, and just telling all of you, if you're watching tonight, if you get a chance, go see. If you can see it in IMAX, even better.
Yeah.
Into America's Wild, really, really worth checking out. Now, from that, you went into animation, and I have always wondered what it is like to be on that side of things. I mean, that's a fascinating thing, to be in the world of voicing animation for a primetime TV show. What's it been like, and what's it like working with those stars?
It's a playground. It's so fun. And it's scary. I've never done it before, and I can't control my voice. It does not change. So I don't change the voice. They're just like the directors. I was like, talk faster, talk slower, do some jumping jacks to make you, but whatever. I had to sing. Can you imagine this singing? Like I have no pitch, no singing, like singing skills at all, but they're so patient and they work with you. And then it's the best. So you get your script like the night before, and they send it really late, so you really don't have time to read it. Then you go to your table reads, and I mean, you drink coffee and eat donuts and sit around this big table with everyone else, and you read it for the first time. And half the time you're so nervous to like look over words to make sure that you pronounce them right, and half the time I can't pronounce anything right. And then we have a lady that's dyslexic, so like it's just what a bunch of crazy misfits in a room, and you're trying to read something, and half the people you're like, we're just like not good readers. And so
Are you trying to say that your co-stars on the show are not good readers?
some of them, like some of them, a lot of them aren't great readers, like especially when you're nervous and you're reading something and you don't know what your character is going to do, so you're just like, oh, I'm doing that. My first episode, I was a clam vagina. I know. So go watch like one of the first episodes. It's in season 1, but my character, they were in like a school play, and it was about feminism and all this stuff, and so I was a clam vagina. But it's so fun, and I love the surprises that you get all the time, and just how this creative these writers are. And then I'm in a room with these people from SNL, and you're like, how did I get here? Like, and then I learned really fast to never wear a sweater when I'm recording, because you're sweating buckets, because you're like shaking half the time, and you're like, and then I look at my seat and I'm like in a puddle, and I'm like, yeah, I'm never wearing a sweater again. But it's such a learning curve, and it's so it's fun to do things that scare you, because like if you were to ask me like 5 years ago what I would be doing for like to pay my rent, I wouldn't have known I would be on a cartoon on Fox. Like I would just like I would think I would still be doing like Flying Wild or another adventure series, but this has it's been like such a pleasant surprise, and I hope I could do this for as long, like Betty White style, and just keep going forever.
I can already tell you the answer to that, Ariel. The answer is yes, you can, and you will. I'm not concerned about that in the least.
Thank you.
And any funny things or stories having to do with that crew that you're working with?
The fun one was like during Zoom, Will Forte just had a baby, and so we were all like zooming and doing our table reading, and then you look at him, and he didn't really tell any of us that he was having a baby, and so you're like, man, he looks rough. His like glasses are sideways, his hair is all over the place, he's just like just hairy, and we're like, man, I hope he's okay. And then you hear a baby like start crying, and we're like, where's that noise coming from? And he's like, oh yeah, my wife just had a baby, and we ran out of something, and she had to go run to the store, so I'm taking care of this baby. And then every time his line came up, the baby would just start screaming. And then and you could just see he was just like panicked and just like, I'm sorry, I'm like ruining the table read. And we're like, no, you're not ruining it. Like, how awesome of a moment to like be with him. So that was really cool. And then, yeah, it was like right before COVID when we started. And so we had like a whole season and a half where we were Zooming. So I'm sure now I go back into the studio Monday. And
Mhm.
so I'm sure there'll be more stories for our next interview.
There you go. Yeah, well, we will definitely be back for that, to say the least. So, I mean, last time you did let the cat out of the bag a little bit on your own project, and I would love you to just tell people a little bit about your own one that has the two. Uh,
Eskimo.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've honestly been working on this idea for like 6 years. And then finally during COVID, I was like, I'm not gonna wait for someone to like help me with this. I'm just gonna do it. And so I got an awesome like team member, and then we started working with an animation company. But the idea is, so in Eskimo culture, we are nomadic. And so when an elder thought they were a burden to their families, they would basically just go on an iceberg and ship out to sea and die because it was the right thing to do. You didn't want to hold back your like family. So the cartoon it sounds horrible, but so it starts off with the two little Eskimo ladies like waving bye to their families. There's northern lights are coming and the stars are shining, and so they like my little character Farrell. She packs like board games and snacks and like a little windmill thing or whatever, like on Dumb and Dumber. Is where I got that scene from. And then the other lady Norma, she packs like sleeping bags and matches and stuff like survival gear. But so they're on the little iceberg waving bye to their families. They curl into their little sleeping bag because they think it's the end. And so they fall asleep. While they're sleeping, this big cruise ship called the Heavenly Cruise rescues them. So they wake up and there's like Elvis, buffets of food, music, drinks, and old people. And so they think they're in heaven. And so
Old people.
that's where the whole they're on an old folks cruise on this like heavenly cruise, and so they think they're dead but they're actually still alive and swimming with sharks and traveling the world and trying all this new stuff. So the backbone is like you're never too old to try new things, to go on adventures, to live your best life, to fall in love and all this stuff. And so that's like in a nutshell, that's where we're at. And so we're so close to finishing the like process and getting it out on all the channels.
Oh my God, I would love to see that show.
Hopefully soon.
Yes. Now, when you're not involved in animation, obviously you still are an athlete at a level that I can't. It makes my back hurt just to think about it.
My,
And yeah, and you told me when we were getting started tonight that you broke your collarbone.
you
What's
know, can you see it? I don't know.
No, you look fine. What happened?
I was racing my buddies and I was on a mountain bike in Alaska and then got in a midair collision. And
You got in a midair collision on a mountain bike. So,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I
You
was
got a bunch
racing
of
my
pilots.
friends.
Remember, you're talking to pilots, so let's be a
I,
little careful about the language that we're using.
midair collisions are a thing, so even on the ground. So be careful. Um, yeah, it's sort of a bummer. So I was racing my friends and we were in this, there was like a hill coming down and there was this kid off the course and my buddy passed him and I was right behind my friend. And so he passed him like on this big jump. And so I followed him on the big jump and the kid didn't see me. So he jumped off the mountain onto the course and we like smashed each other. And I guess I have some mom instincts because I grabbed him and then we fell. And so nothing hurt on me. I was just like, I'm fine, like you're good, but don't move, kid, because my handlebar was on his neck. And so I'm like, oh my God, I just paralyzed the child, don't move. And so he's freaking out and just like, I'm so stupid, I'm so stupid, why did I jump in front of you? I'm like, you are stupid, but don't move. Like just calm down. And so then finally his dad came around and he's like, he's fine, he's fine. And pulled him up and I'm like, oh my God. So then I pushed up and right when I pushed, it was just like, and then, so then I was like, I looked at my friend and I'm like, I think I just broke my neck. And he's like, what? I'm like, I just broke my neck. And then he looked at me and was like, oh, shucks. Like, you just broke your collarbone. It was like all just like sticking out. And then I'm like, oh no. So got my bike and we had to walk like 2.5 miles out. And then I got to the doctor and he was like, yeah, we're like full. It was during COVID, so we can't get you in for surgery for 10 days. And so I'm just like, I still need to run. So can you just like duct tape me up so I could run and stuff? And so he like taped me good, and my dad would tape me in the mornings. And then here's the bummer part. So I had it cut in like, it was shattered in like 3 spots. And then I go to my cousin's wedding. And so I'm dancing with all the people. We're dancing around, and my pilot buddies, everyone thinks it's the funniest thing to just come out of nowhere and tackle me. So I'm just hanging out and dancing, and my friend like just forgot that I had a broken collarbone and flattens me. And then it re-broke in like 8 spots.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so then I went and got surgery and then came out of it, and the doctor was like, so we put 8 screws in you and a plate and a donor bone. And I was like, a donor bone? He's like, yeah, it's like a person that died's bone. And I'm like, whoa, that's sort of cool. Now I'm part someone else and part robot. And yeah, and so now I've been having like weird dreams. And so I think the cool thing is though, they give you a thank you, like you could mail the family of the person that passed to say thank you for their like bones. And so got to do that, which was sort of nice.
Did you include any info about your dreams?
Yeah, not the dreams. I told them about my dreams and how they're helping me, hopefully, like being able to keep mountain biking and skiing and running. And so I'm like, thank you.
Oh, and by the way, did Bob like to fish? Because that's all I'm thinking about.
That's all I'm thinking about. It's fishing, like squirrels. Like I've been having all these crazy squirrel dreams, and like, so I'm like,
I think they gave you a puppy bone.
yeah, maybe. Part dog. Yeah. But you know the bummer about it though, I went through security the other day. Nothing. I didn't beep. I didn't get, yeah, I'm like, what a ripoff. I thought I was supposed to like make all the alarms go off, and it didn't happen. So,
Man, I think you need your money back.
I know.
No question about it. Now, but at the same time, didn't you just tell me that now you have you're doing GoPro sponsorship and like doing all these things having to do with mountain bike races?
Yeah, yep. So I did my first race was in Vail this summer. And
so you're still racing after all the screws and a donor bone that's giving you dreams.
No, so that was pre collarbone. My next race is going to be, I think, on December 12th. So it'll be my first race since the bone. So yeah.
Any concerns? Or are you still going to go all out? You figure I have 2 collarbones.
No, that's the biggest thing. Like I'm back almost full speed. The hardest part though is your mental, like not being timid. And so that's been a challenge, but now I'm like pretty much back to normal. It's just you can't have hesitation or fear when you're racing. And like I need those butterflies and adrenaline rushing through my bones. And so it's like I went back where I crashed and went to all my like gnarly trails here and tried to ride them again. And so it's still, I mean, it's scary sometimes, but I'm just like, I love that feeling once you make it and you're just like, I did it, get me back up, I want to do it again.
That's awesome. Is that your favorite sport right now? I know you go through a lot of them.
I know. I'm obsessed with mountain biking right now, but then I'm also like falling in love with surfing.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
interesting.
Anything that gets me in the water and the mountains, I love. I love skiing. I love skiing, but it's not as much as I love mountain biking and surfing. But yeah, my little sister just got her paragliding when we were in Maui, and now I'm like, there's another activity that we got to do. Bring on the toys. It's like everything is just like, man, there are so much toys. Like,
yeah. Without a doubt, but at least it's a form of flying. Hey, there's that.
Yeah, and then you could climb up a mountain, and instead of walking down, you jump off of it. So I'm like, that's good for the knees.
I like that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's gonna be the next adventure.
Awesome. And then anything new that's like about to come out that people are gonna get to see you in?
What's the next thing? I'm trying to think if I did something. So the
We've got
season 3 of Great North should be coming out. I think we're still on season 2, but we just started. I think we're almost at the end of recording season 3.
and to
And
remind
then
people what your character is on the show.
Kima, her name is Kima. I'm this little high school kid that's best friends with Jenny Slate, the main character. Yeah, and so she's fun to play. And then this Africa series, we're about to give it the green light soon. So I'll let everyone know where they could watch that soon.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
So how do we get you back into the air? Because that is one of the biggest things, of course, we want to see is that. And I know we just talked about we are going to be doing some stuff in April, March, April timeframe. We're going to get you there. And anything else on the horizon that can do stuff either locally out in the West Coast where you are, or anything else you've been thinking about?
If anyone offered me to go flying with them, or to, I don't know, I need to create another flying show, because a lot of people are so interested in that. And I love it. And so if people have ideas for shows, I mean, I produce and I create, and I could help them with coming up with an idea. Let's go travel the world and fly to random places and do fun stuff. Like
that is an invitation. I can imagine every single person watching right now is like, I'm in.
Yeah,
Right.
honestly, the hardest part is just now it's easy because we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have YouTube, so we could create stuff. It's just a matter of finding funding, getting sponsors, and I mean, we could all do that though. And so let's do it. If anyone out there wants to go flying, especially to warm places, let's go.
I love it. Absolutely. Now you just got back from Hawaii.
Yep.
And tell me a little bit about that, because one of the things you said is that your parents are reverse aging. I want to find out how that works.
Honestly, like, my dad turned 67 on November 26th. And my mom just turned 60 on August 2nd. And I've never seen them fitter. Well, one, they work out a ton now. Like, my mom runs a bunch, and my dad is constantly hiking, constantly building things, lifting things. But yeah, he has a 6-pack, and I'm looking, I'm like, where'd this come from? Jesus, Mom, are you feeding him? And so no, they eat so much too. And my mom is just like a little, like, endless tunnel of, like, I'm like, where does it all go? But they're ripped. They're like insane, but they're so healthy. They have their smoothies every day. They're eating good, like, fish and moose and all that stuff. And yeah, they're just so active. Like, they're building cabins, and they're out chopping wood all the time and getting water. And they're just like good role models to how to live a healthy and adventurous life.
Yeah. Now, going back to what you said about, what would you take with you? What are your mementos? One of the things that strikes me about you is that you've put a lot of stories kind of on your body. I mean, you see that when you raise your cup right now. Can you take us at least on a tour of the forearms here? Because some of this is your story.
Yeah, a lot of my stories, like, this one is a traditional, so it's a a lot of my tattoos also have scars around them, because I crash a lot on my bike, and just I crash a lot. But this is a tundra sprout, so it's the most resilient plant. So whenever it's burnt down or stepped on or run over, it comes back stronger, and it's grown in Alaska. And so I really love that one. This one is my my tail number for my plane, and the day I got my pilot's license, November 172 Foxtrot Alpha, and I got it on April 21st, 2012.
So for those of you who take a picture or write something on a shirt and put it up somewhere in a flight school, shame on you. You should be getting a tattoo with it that you can look at forever.
Yeah, do that. Oh, my dad's not a fan of all of them. He's like, God, your body's not a canvas. I'm like, yes, it is.
It's exactly what your body is for you.
Yeah, I just love it. They tell stories. Some of them not so great stories, but a lot of them, I mean, they mean something. They remind me of my best friends. I went on this hunt. This is a guinea fowl feather. It's my newest one. And I was lucky enough to go on a hunt with this Hadzabe tribe in Africa when I was there shooting. And the most beautiful people, there's these guys, they took me out on a hunt. I was out for a while, and I caught a guinea fowl, or I injured it with a bow. I had never shot a bow before, but the leader ran up to this guinea fowl and bit its head off, so then it wouldn't suffer and wouldn't die. Like, I was like, what? I thought, like, I grew up in a like crazy place, but no, their whole thing, why he did that, you don't want the animals to suffer, and like, so that helped it. And so he took a feather from the guinea fowl and put it in my hair, and then I kept the feather. But they were the most compassionate, connected people with nature. They used everything, how they could be standing somewhere and then like 30 feet away, they like start digging a hole and water comes up. And they were so, and then they could like see like a tiny little weed and then start digging and would pull out these like potatoes type things that everyone ate. And they, it's like, I learned so much about kindness and how like the little kids, they wouldn't fight over the last piece of like little like guinea fowl like thigh. They would take a bite, hand it to their little friend, take a bite, hand it to their friend, and then when it was done, they would just like rub each other's backs. And it was just, I fell in love with Africa. I loved it. But yeah, so that was that. And then I just have so many these are like seagull. Me and my sisters love seagulls because they spend their time between the land, sea, and the air, and they scream as loud as they want to. And so, yeah, and then my mom's obsessed with ravens. So here's a traditional tattoo that was hand sewn. And so it's our little island outside of our village, and ravens for my mom, seahorse for my best friend. This was a random one in Morse code. I met these two guys at a wedding, and we all fell in love with each other. And then let's get matching tattoos. So one of them, they said, so don't lose your happiness on the pursuit for more. And I love that. It's like we're always wanting more and more, and then we get something, and then we still want more. And I am just like, no, like, enjoy the process. Like, just don't lose your happiness on wanting more and more and more. And so that's in Morse code. And then I could show you more, but that would be for the next one.
Yes, we will wait for the next one.
If I was my mom, I'd be like, and here's this. No, me and my mom have a bunch of matching tattoos, like on our ribs and on like that. Yeah, so that will be for the next podcast.
Okay, yeah, I think that as much as, oh, here come all the requests. Nope. So, well, Ariel, as always, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us here at SocialFlight Live. I miss you. It is so wonderful to be able to see you here on the show. And I just can't wait to get together and go do some flying and some adventures as we get more social with aviation.
I love this, and I love talking to you, and I can't wait to see you in person. And I'm so looking forward to Sun and Fun, and before that,
yes,
let's go get on our seaplane.
We will get all over that. So again, thank you so much to everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, and thank you guys all for watching.
And to all of you, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to join us here on SocialFlight Live. Next week, as I mentioned, we have Elvis's pilot, Ron Strauss. He has some stories that just have to be heard to be believed, and it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful show. That's Tuesday, November 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific here on SocialFlight Live. And the following Tuesday, it's George Brawley of Gammy and Tornado Alley Turbos. We're going to talk about replacement fuels for General Aviation, as well as the story of those two amazing companies. Until next time, I'm Jeff Simon for SocialFlight. Blue skies.